welcome to Undisputed Nerds. Welcome. I am your Senpai Zane, aka Zane. He is the gentleman gamer. Say hello.
Oh, I got the wrong hand up. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi. For those who are just listening, I was waving at a camera. My apologies. Hello out there in Radioland.
He makes a great point. Not only are you listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, but you may be watching this on YouTube. Do not forget to subscribe, ring that notification bell, and why not add a comment whilst you're at it? You're here, you may as well like.
Click the like.
The like, of course. Who could forget the like? But not only that, you may be listening to this on your favorite podcast, Apple, Spotify. Don't forget to drop us a comment. Don't forget to like. I need to the video then. Subscribe, whatever it is. Don't forget to do it because it helps us help you.
Do you want to go again, Senpai?
No. We're already in mic.
Alright, leave it in. Fine, leave it in. This is amazing content for our listeners / viewers. Hooray.
I'll use this as an ad for later on.
Just make sure, guys, basically what we're saying is make sure you like it. Just in general, just across the board, life, you know, anything. If you want to like a YouTube video, that's great. Otherwise, just like the podcast and enjoy it, you know. So that's the kind of content we provide. We had another thought provoker this week as well, which it may or may not be in the Patreon. So you know, just keep that in mind, guys.
But today's episode, you may have seen it from the title already, we'll be discussing and reviewing Jupiter's Legacy. But before we get to that, we got some news.
Hot news, hot off the press.
Oh, hot off the press.
by the time this comes out.
So, do you want to talk about He-Man? I know we were talking about it before the podcast, but
we can. I'm not actually. He-Man's one of the few subjects where I'm not actually super. I'm not super au fait with it. People are going to hate me for this, and we are probably going to get comments on it. But I didn't watch it when I was younger.
No, well, no. I mean, which version? Because there's been two animated.
A lot of them. I think the only version I know is the CKY version that we were talking about right before this show. No, I know there was a Masters of the Universe film, obviously, wasn't there, with Dolph Lundgren in it? I know that, and skeletal. That really creeps me out still to this day. The skeletal design in that really freaks me out. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. It's horrible. But no, I don't know that much about He-Man. So if you want to take the reins and run with it, then you go for it, my friend. Because I will sit here to be educated on that one.
Well, I mean, I won't go into too much detail. Because we've got a lot of things to talk about, but they have announced, and it was on Kevin Smith's Instagram, that he released some still pictures of, or some images, shall I say, of the animation and such, which looks great. Real clean look, and of course it's done by Powerhouse, which of course famously have done Castlevania, which is out today, as well as Blood of Zeus, which is another Netflix animation. Yeah. So yeah, a real great studio. It sounds like it'd be split into two parts. So the first part, I believe, is 5 episodes, and that'll be dropping on July 23rd.
So that was going to be my question. Is it essentially like a feature film that's split in half, or is it a series? Because I haven't. They've confirmed it's a feature film, basically, is it?
It's episodic, so like
okay, it is episodic. Okay. Cool. Oh right, okay, it is exactly. Okay, sweet, cool. Yeah, that's going to be one of those shows where it's like I will probably watch it for this podcast, and it will be my first introduction to He-Man and Skeletor, because I know so little about that universe, but it's intriguing. It's very intriguing. I always get He-Man. I always get confused with Conan, man. Like I don't know why. I don't know, but like you say, like it's a common thing. Like that's a common thing for people to get confused by. It's clearly not. It's just my brain that somehow warps Schwarzenegger into fighting a weird skeleton man.
Well, I mean, He-Man was a toy and then a cartoon. It's just because the toy did so well. And that's where it kind of originated from. And the box art, again, the box art's like incredible. But it's, a lot of IP came out at that sort of time with similar themes, shall we say? So,
Right. Okay.
like you say, muscular men, swords, fighting, spiritual mumbo jumbos.
Yeah, a lot of fictional things became real, like Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Team Hulk Hogan.
He's not real. His name's Terry. Sorry to break it to you.
Terry.
Terry. That's gonna have to be cut, isn't it? I'm sorry. That was bad. That was bad of me. Damn it. Anyway,
Don't worry. Do you want some more news?
yes. Yeah. Let's go through the news that I'm aware of.
Margot Robbie is fighting for Poison Ivy to join the DCEU. This was coming from Den of Geek, where Margot Robbie basically says in an interview that she's been trying to pester people at Warner Brothers to allow her to have Poison Ivy.
Yeah, this was I'm surprised by this because I really thought that Margot Robbie's swan song was coming up in Suicide Squad 2. I really thought that she was going to be one of the ones to die in Suicide Squad because I think that like, how long has she been Harley now, Senpai? She's been like what, like for
oh gosh,
7
good couple of years.
Is it 7 years?
Actually, that's not bad. Have a quick look.
I'm not sure, but because obviously Suicide Squad, the first one, was not what everyone was hoping it would be. You know, I will say this though, it is one of those films where I went into it with absolutely zero expectations, thinking this is going to be terrible, really, really bad. And then it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. So therefore I came out of it going, but don't get me wrong, it's not a good film. It's not a good film at all. So, but she kind of, I think after Suicide Squad, I think Margot Robbie kind of fought to have that solo piece for Harley. And then when she got that with Emancipation of Harley Quinn, I think that Birds of Prey. I think she thought that, well, from my perspective, I thought she was done with it. You know, I thought Suicide Squad was going to be her finale and be like, okay, I'm gone. But this very much sounds like she's trying to angle for, like Harley and Ivy, like a series after that. You know, I don't understand why she would like pester people about it unless she wanted to be involved in it.
Yeah, I think she was given quite a lot of control with Birds of Prey because I think she was a producer on it. Producer, yeah. And you know, I know most actors say this, but she absolutely loves the character. She, in a weird way, kind of not embodies the character, but in a weird way, like people associate her with the character now. Like it's almost like the Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, if it makes her money, like, why wouldn't she want to do more of it?
I'm pretty sure they get. I'm trying to remember, but I can't remember where it's. I think it's her and Ivy have a relationship in the comics. Like after she leaves Joker, like I think they get together. So I don't know whether that's just something that she wants to explore in the character. I mean, I'm all for it. I love Poison Ivy. Like, for those of you who've watched my Twitch streams and have watched me playing the Arkham series, I love Poison Ivy. So like I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Who would you cast?
Oh man.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's tough. One thing I was just gonna say actually is the animated series, the Harley Quinn show. I know that's been super popular, and they kind of explore it in the TV show as well. So,
yeah, they do. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I guess that's where a lot of the hype comes from it. In terms of, I don't know, who would you cast?
So there's 3. The problem is that 2 of them have already been cast in other roles. So like, so Scarlett Johansson would have been amazing at it, but she's already Black Widow. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but she's already Huntress. And then Jessica Chastain, I think, would be amazing as Poison Ivy.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, Chastain. Yeah, she's in. It's the lady from Molly's Game.
Okay.
She's also in Dark Phoenix as well, but nobody talks about that.
No one talks about.
No one talks about that. Yeah. No. Again, another film. I will say this though, another film that I went into with absolutely zero expectations whatsoever, and I actually came out really enjoying it. But I do have a weird love of Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy, so I think that might have just carried me through the film, to be honest with you. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When you've got a man crush on someone, then it just takes you through it, doesn't it, Senpai?
I mean, who could forget the subtext from First Class? I mean, whew.
Oh my God, I've never wanted to go to mutant school so much in my life.
My Tumblr was on fire. All the fanfic. In other news, so we actually found out that there was plans for a Man of Steel 2, and said Man of Steel 2, we would have had a Brainiac.
What a surprise. We would have had the villain who's always talked about in Superman sequels. Just like, we were supposed to have Brainiac in the sequel to Superman Returns, but that never came about as well. I mean, here we go. Pun alert, everyone. It's a no-brainer. Brainiac's one of the Brainiac's one of the best villains that Superman has. I will say this: he's one of the kind of only large-scale villains that I can think of that's on an equal power level that isn't a Justice League villain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you tend to Superman's a weird case where you've got a lot of. He's got a lot of kind of, I would say, how do I phrase this? Not wacky villains, but
his rogue gallery.
His rogue gallery is a bit all over the place because there's obviously Lex Luthor is the Lex Luger, the famous WWF wrestler, is his most famous opponent. Who he's just a man, an American icon, and then it goes right to the other end of the scale where you've got like Darkseid, who. But can you really call? I don't know whether Darkseid technically classifies as a Superman villain anymore, or whether he's more of a Justice League villain. Yeah. And then in between, you've got a whole bunch of Metallo is quite a good villain, powered by his kryptonite. But there's Cyborg Superman, but you can't do the whole setup for that now because it's all been rushed and ruined. Like there's Mr. Mixulus I can never say his name. Mixulus Picklick, the weird dimension god who
cosmic
dimension god. Yeah. So Brainiac is a great example, and it's a nice, depending on what lore you look at, it's a nice heritage link back to Krypton because Brainiac was created on Krypton. But it's weird. You tend to get either very normal human villains who have some kind of affliction or mental ability, or you get really massive bruisers like Doomsday. There's no middle ground with them. Batman seems to have a wider variety. For example, Batman's got one of the best rogues galleries of any hero ever.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think Brainiac's a really good choice. It would have been awesome. Is this confirming then that Man of Steel 2 is not happening?
This was Zack Snyder's Man of Steel 2. So Zack, basically Zack came out and said this. But I've seen a few people say, is he just saying this because hindsight?
Also, is he just saying this because now that people have seen his new and improved Justice League, there's been a massive upswelling of things for bring in the Snyderverse? Because that has recently come out where everyone's now suddenly oh, Justice League was so amazing. It was all right. We should definitely do a Snyderverse and have that. And I think maybe he might be trying to ride a wave of this to be yeah, give me more money and give me another movie.
Knock knock. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I personally think Henry Cavill's the best Superman since Christopher Reeve. I think he's fantastic. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he's had. I really still enjoy the first Man of Steel. The only thing I have a problem with was the ending where he snaps his neck. But then I understand why they did that and why they've done that. I don't think he's had the best material to work with after that. So I think a Brainiac level villain would be really good. I think it'd be excellent. depending on how they do it.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't like Doomsday.
No, it's it'd be interesting to see how they would have, explain Brainiac to a wider audience as well. Because again, it's great for people like us who've read the lore and the content, and and seen him in the animated series and whatnot. But for other people, how do you introduce? He's a weird alien robot guy that collects cities sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the the one that sticks in my head as far as like famous Brainiac iterations was that he was some kind of like famous. He was some kind of essentially like an archive that was created by the Kryptonian Library to archive all knowledge, and then basically once Krypton is, I think in actual fact it was to archive all knowledge and erase the original. Like that was the idea behind him. And I think in one of the iterations, I think it came out that he was responsible for Krypton being destroyed because he copied everything on it and then wanted to get rid of the original, which is then what he goes on and does. It's weirdly similar to like Galactus actually, in the sense of like, apart from the copying thing, but it's just like he's a world eater who then just moves on. I don't know how they could do it. Please don't. I mean, the last thing I want them to do, as long as they don't have it. Oh God, I'm going to put this out there, and if Zack Snyder picks this up, I'm coming for you, Snyder. But please don't make it so that Jesse Eisenberg is a weird version of Brainiac before Lex Luthor. That's why he was getting all these signals from Krypton, because he could interpret it, because he was secretly Brainiac on Earth.
The whole time.
Yeah, weirder things have happened. Weirder things have happened, Senpai.
I guess so.
But no, all for Brainiac and Man of Steel 2 when it will inevitably happen, because fans will inevitably complain too much and then go, we'll end up making it then.
Here we go. Another sort of thing that came out this week is Emily Blunt was recently interviewed, mainly off the back of The Quiet Place 2. And she kind of downplayed some of the Fantastic Four rumors, calling it fan casting.
We talked about something like this very similar last week with Andrew Garfield downplaying Spider-Man. Like, okay, Emily Blunt, whether or not Emily Blunt is going to be Sue Storm, okay, that's a bit up in the air for me. John Krasinski's definitely going to be Mr. Fantastic. He definitely is. They've basically all but confirmed it already. They had this big, like, what was that new? What was oh God, what was it? He did this like Good News Office podcast thing whilst we were in lockdown, and then he did somebody asked him about like being a Marvel character, and he was like, that is something that will never ever happen. And then he did the Jim face right at the camera, like as if to say he's lying his ass off. And it's just like, he's definitely going to be Reed Richards. And I will say this, I think he's awesome for Reed Richards. He would be amazing. I think the only reason Emily Blunt is being associated with it is because she's his wife. And I think she should have been Black Widow. Like, that's...
Well, I read the story about that this week. I didn't know too much about it, but the way, from what the article I read, is that she actually was cast as Black Widow, but she couldn't fulfill the role because she was doing Gulliver's Travel. Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was Gulliver's Travel, but it was time commitments to another project, basically. Yeah, she was cast and it was all finalized. That's why Scarlett Johansson comes into it super late in the game and has like a bizarre haircut. Really, it's like Little Orphan Annie Black Widow. It's the weirdest haircut ever, like all curly and like curly redhead. Is very strange, but I mean, I like the idea of Emily Blunt as Sue Storm. I don't know if she's I don't know if she's a lock for it, which may be what she's referring to. I think I seriously think John Krasinski's already in. I really do. I really think he's in already. I think it's a classic Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan situation where he's like, oh, I haven't done anything. No, nobody's been talking to me about anything. And then it comes out that they're making an Obi-Wan series and he goes, oh, I can finally talk about it. I've been holding it in for years. Like... They've had me on a diet of chicken and rice and broccoli.
Exactly.
To get in shape.
Just look at the history of this stuff, though. You've got Ewan McGregor saying that. You've got Kit Harington saying, oh, yeah, Jon Snow's dead. And then coming out and going, sorry, I lied. Like, that's what they do. They're not allowed to talk about it. Of course she's going to deny it. Even if she is involved, she's going to say, yeah, no, there's been no talks, nothing. Yeah, I don't know whether she's involved. I think John Krasinski's definitely involved. I think it would make sense to get them both in as a pairing, but again, the 99% of this is not about who's a good casting, it's about who's available.
Who's left?
Well, I mean, I will say this, it's quite a big, like, a lot of actors sometimes have reservations about being in Marvel movies now, because it is a big commitment, because you normally have to sign up to a multi-picture deal, which kind of puts you out of other roles for, especially something. If they're going to do what I think they're going to do, they will make the Fantastic Four very, very essential as part of this universe, because the Fantastic Four are so ingrained in the comics as a stalwart piece of Marvel lore. You know, they like, Reed Richards is the most intelligent man in the universe. Well, he is. You know, I don't know what else to say. Yeah. So like, they've lost that now because Tony's dead. Spoilers. Yeah. Sorry, spoilers for Endgame. If anyone doesn't know that by now, then I'm sorry, but there you go. You got to watch these movies more and stop listening to nerd podcasts without watching them. But like, they need a replacement for that. You know, they need a stand-in for that, and Reed Richards is perfect for it, because that's exactly what he is. He's a genius, in addition to being very stretchy. Questions will be asked on our Patreon regarding that stretchiness. So. Yeah, you need to. You definitely need to introduce them. But I would imagine whoever signs up to be the cast of Fantastic Four will be on a multi-picture deal. You know, probably like the Chris Evans 9-movie deal, because they're such big players.
Yeah, even Idris Elba in the past has been very vocal about how he wasn't thrilled with the commitments, because it meant that he missed out, like you say, on projects. Yep. You know. Because again, commitments, and you know, I feel bad for him, especially because it's not like he had a major role in, you know, the first 2 Thor movies. So
even the third one, he was still. I mean, he had a bigger part in Ragnarok, but yeah, he was still not really used properly, and then he just gets like killed really quick. Spoilers again for Endgame.
But then I think for Idris as well, especially like when he signed on to the first Thor movie, he wasn't a household name like he is now,
and that's the issue. I think that's the problem, isn't it? It's that if you sign up to these things when you're not, if you sign up to these things when you're semi-famous, and then you suddenly explode and get super famous, then yeah, it's a tie. I will argue this though. I think John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are already super famous, so I think they'd probably be more in it for the long term. But when you look at the casting of The Thing and you look at the casting of Human Torch, who do you get for that?
Who do you call?
What, Bill Murray? Ghostbusters?
Can you imagine Bill Murray as The Thing?
Yes, I can. That would be amazing.
I've got to stick just thinking about it.
It'd be like I Am Groot. He'd just do the voice.
Well, wouldn't he be like Garfield? I hate Mondays.
I can see him more as the Human Torch, you know, this like womanizing playboy. Like an older Human Torch. That'd be amazing.
Very sarky.
Emily, why are you complaining all the time?
Last bit of news, we have to talk about it. We're already in the Marvel space, shall we say. We got the trailer for Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, it did. That really happened, didn't it? You go first. I'm trying to compose myself.
Okay. Where do I begin? I mean, the red wig is an improvement. I mean, gone. I know it's not curly like it was at the end of the last film.
Is it not his real hair? I thought it was his real hair.
I mean, well, let's look at the positives. We're getting Carnage. Carnage looks good, from what I can tell, but it does kind of look like just a red Venom, which is a bit weird. I don't think they've.
Oh, wait.
I know it's only like 2.
We're getting Carnage in this film. I thought the trailer was showing Riot from the first film, just with a slightly different color palette. Is that not what was? Is that?
Oh no.
Oh, that's Carnage, is it? That's Carnage.
That's Carnage.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Great.
So cool.
Great.
The thing is about these, like,
That's the positive for getting Carnage. That's the only positive about it. He's not eating lobsters anymore in his fish tank. That's the other positive.
Well, you can tell that they were like, what worked really well for Venom. What was great about that film, because it was a commercial success, and internationally as well somehow. It was a commercial success, but it was obviously they've just gone. Tom Hardy talking to himself is actually the linchpin of that movie. Let's just make more of that. Yeah. Let's do that.
But weird. Like, what the fuck? They've changed his voice for a start, so he now sounds like some bizarre, weird Germanic, like Venom in the trailer. From what I can gather, like,
he
what the
sounds like
that?
Arnie. He was like a bad Arnie impression.
That's changed. That's not like it was in the first one. So either he's been holidaying in Germany in between films and we're not used to it, so he's picked up that accent, or they've just decided to lean into some weird comedy bit. Like, the reason why the first one was so successful is because you had an incredibly popular comic character, whether you are a Spider-Man fan, because you know he's one of Spider-Man's arch enemies, so like people who watch Spider-Man inevitably know who Venom is, or if you're just a Venom fan itself, because the Venom comics, he's been in so many different iterations and so many cycles of it, you know who Venom is. The second reason it was popular is because they cast Tom Hardy, who is ultra popular at the moment, and people will just go and see his movies. Sorry, I'm getting irate already, aren't I? You can hear it swelling up in me.
It's good energy. Energy.
Up. The second Venom film, Let There Be Carnage, looks like Let There Be Bollocks. Apologies for the swearing, everyone, because it looked awful. It looks so bad. The trailer, I was like, in the books. Let me just calm my thoughts a little bit.
I'm gonna take a seat.
Yeah, that's fine. That's right. You go get a drink or something. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. He's leaving the room. He's gone. He's like, no, he's not really. The first film, it had a lot of flaws in it, but there was some potential for good stuff there. The ending of that first film, the after credit scene, was terrible, but you know that was mainly because of Woody Harrelson's wig, and also the really, really badly shoehorned in, when we get out of here, it's gonna be Carnage. Oh, it's because he's Carnage. Oh. Like, I've talked to you about this on the show many times already, and we've only been doing this for a month now, but like, it's nice when you drop subtle hints in about other worldly events that are going on in that universe. That was not subtle. That was here's a big red stick called Carnage, let me just slap you around the face with it and then put a wig on you. So I was not anticipating good things from this sequel, having seen the trailer for it, which starts off with this like hokey odd couple. Like, what the hell is that? I'm trying so hard not to swear right now, by the way, senpai. We're trying to keep it as family friendly. I've already used the B word once on this thing. I'm trying to keep it as family friendly.
I think as a rule you need to name a biscuit. Name a biscuit. This is honestly, this trailer was a massive pile of bourbons. It really was. It was, honestly, there was digestives everywhere. It was an absolute fig of a biscuit. Cream.
It was a mighty custard cream of a trailer. All right, let me compose my thoughts. So the weird voice is strange. I don't like that. They seem to have they've gone away from the quite serious split personality disorder idea of it into a weird odd couple comedy routine between Tom Hardy and Venom, which I hate, because as some people were pointing out in some forums that I was reading regarding it, Venom was kind of goofy in his first days, and it's like, yeah, he was goofy, but he was also like this lethal protector who the idea is that he was struggling with the morality because the symbiote was pushing him down a very dark path, but he wanted to be good, and he was trying not to kill people, basically. And this just feels like it's like a what are you doing here? Like, what is this? Like, Carnage himself, like, Riot was Carnage. They've already done Carnage. It's just they named him something else. Like, they've gone all tendrily with Carnage, which is fair enough. But then Riot was super tendrily as well. Like Riot was making like the axes and stuff out of his hands and stuff.
I was going to say he was more of the blades and axes and stuff in that first film.
So unless they're going to do some kind of nifty trick with Carnage where he's got something that it differentiates, because Carnage is different from most symbiotes. That's the whole idea behind him. Because the concept of blades and axes and stuff like that was created with him. And he's a serial killer. Like he's a serial killer.
He's supposed to be like a contrast different, because that's why he's so slender and sleek.
Yes.
In comparison, because Venom is very bulky and big and has an overbearing presence, and he's supposed to look powerful compared to Spider-Man. But then you've got the sinister sleekness of Carnage. That was that's what a lot of people have always interpreted it as. But I'm scared that.
I think that Venom. The whole idea behind Venom was that the symbiote. So when a symbiote bonds with someone, they enhance their attributes, whatever they may be. Yeah. So with Spider-Man, because he was so OP, Venom just. He naturally absorbed, the Venom symbiote, naturally absorbed those abilities. And then when he merged with Brock, the reason why he was so massive was that Brock had become a bodybuilder. Like he was like super hench, like massively muscly in the first place, and was very, very strong, like probably as strong as a human could be, without any kind of enhancements. So then the Venom bonding made them. He basically enhanced that physique is the idea behind it. And then like you said, Cassidy's just a slender serial killer. But there's other examples of because I don't want to I feel like what they're doing is they just have found a situation where they're like, oh, symbiotes are popular, let's throw symbiotes against the wall and see what happens. And they've already done it with Riot. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some other symbiote. They've already
Screech?
Yes, thank you. Screech has already been shown in the trailer as showing up. So I don't know whether they're going to try and do Maximum Carnage, like a version of Maximum Carnage, which is a comic book that was in the 90s, which was like this big tie-in event, basically, where like Carnage escapes and goes rampant in New York with Screech, and like the Demo Goblin is there as well, like Spider-Man's weird clone, like horrible clone 6-arm thing, and like Carnage starts this weird family. I don't want them to do that at all. I think it's terrible. It's not hard. Like that's what I hate about Sony and the Spider-Man movies. Like this isn't difficult. Like you've got really good characters, and Marvel have already shown you a formula for how to make these characters work. Like everyone figging knows how Venom was made. Even the general public at this point in time pretty much know, because Spider-Man is so ridiculously popular. So don't worry too much about Venom in this movie. If you're establishing Carnage, establish Carnage. Establish the rules that the Venom symbiote creates offsprings. That's what it does. That's how.
I think this is what will happen in the film. I think the way the trailer tones it is that they're buddies, but like any good cop movie, there needs to be tension between them, and something needs to happen for there to be tension, for them to get over to be back to being buddies by the end of it. So I think the
fact that you've just talked about Venom and Carnage and used the words buddy cop movie.
Oh no, sorry, I meant as in Eddie and Venom.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. I see. Sorry. I thought you meant Eddie and Cletus, and I was like, no, Senpai, that would not work. That is not going to work whatsoever. It's bad, man. It is bad. I am not hyped for this film at all. There's supposedly, I haven't looked in any depth, but there's apparently suggestions that it's connected to the wider MCU. There were some hints in the trailer apparently that there's some.
I was going to ask you about this. So a lot of people have drawn attention to the newspaper, the Bugle. Because, of course, in it was the same newspaper logo that was used in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and we've already seen with Morbius, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man in the background is in a spray painting.
Yep. The costume design is, yeah.
So a lot of people are wondering if not only those two movies, I think Sony's already said those two movies are in the same universe.
What, Morbius and Venom?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. They're trying to make everything in the same universe now, aren't they?
But then the bigger question is, if those two are in that universe, are they in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man universe? And will we see them will we get like a Multiverse of Madness hint at the end?
Multiverse of Madness hint is possibly. I don't know. Like, the reason why I don't believe... well, actually, it's not that okay, so I'm going to prefix this with I don't care, because I hate Sony Spider-Man films now. After Spider-Man 3, the Sony Spider-Verse died for me, unfortunately. So I've never been so hyped for a film as much as I was for Spider-Man 3, and the crushing disappointment of what that film turned out to be still haunts me to this day. That is my...
Well, the fan theory is just that because we know Doc Ock is going to be in Multiverse of Madness, well, in the next Spider-Man movie, shall we say.
What is that one?
Does that mean...
they've named the title now.
No Way Home?
No Way Home, that's it. Yep, that's it.
Because we know he's going to be in Spider-Man 3, shall we say, does that mean Venom, there go, overrides the events of the original Spider-Man 3 because Doc Ock is alive? Yeah, but you see where I'm going with this?
I do see where you're going with it. Are you trying to say they're trying to rewrite history so that they can do Spider-Man 4?
They rewrite their own Venom, and they...
It's just terrible, isn't it? You're really pushing me to the limit of my no swearing policy right now. Look. Ultimately, the reason why I don't know what's going on, because obviously you've had Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes show up in Morbius's trailer. So then is that part of Multiverse of Madness? So then, there's also the Daily Bugle in the Tom Holland Spider-Verse in the MCU. It doesn't seem like it's a newspaper either. It seems like it's this online activist blog kind of thing that's run by J. Jonah Jameson. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Making the frogs gay. Yeah, exactly. That. So, yeah. God, I hope they make J. Jonah Jameson say that at some point. Can you imagine him saying that in one of the Spider-Man things? They're putting drugs in the water. They're making the frogs gay.
There's a man who thinks he's a lion. Hinting at a Craven Easter egg.
Yes. Look, ultimately, and this is going to sound really callous because I love Venom a lot, but I don't care about this character at all. I really don't care. I don't care about this movie after watching the trailer. The only reason I'll go and see it is... Well, no, there's two reasons why I'll go and see it. I like Woody Harrelson a lot, so I will go and see him for his performance in it, because I think he'll probably end up being really good. I genuinely do. I think he'll probably ham it a bit, like he'll be a bit hammy as Cletus, but I think he'll be really good.
Yeah.
And the other reason I'm going to see it is because I love Venom as a character. Like, in terms of the comics, he's been my favorite Spider-Man villain for a very long time. I adore him. But I do not have high expectations for this film whatsoever. And whether or not it ultimately ties into the MCU, I don't care again, because it's not Venom's proper origin for me. What's his motivation for hating Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Why would he hate Spider-Man? The only thing I can think of them doing is that they're setting it up so that Venom is a lethal protector, and the common conception in the MCU now is that Spider-Man is a murderer and a bad guy. So Venom has to go after him as a way to kind of that's the only clash I can theoretically see them doing in the MCU, because it's annoying. Frankly, it is annoying, because Venom is so... I said it about the first film. How do you do a Venom film without Spider-Man? And they did it. I don't think they did it necessarily very well, but it was successful. Yeah. But now you find the limitations of it, because how do you keep going with that character without having his backstory in there?
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. I mean, I will definitely see this, because, I mean, again, one, it's got Carnage. Two, one of the big things I've heard is really great about Donny Yates' run on Venom, and I think this is where it adapts from, is that the whole idea that Venom is in love with Eddie, like he'll do anything but Eddie, and that's where the whole like making Eddie breakfast and them going to the shop together, like some weird,
some God knows what else he does to him attached to his body. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, like I mean, I will say this: I love Andy Serkis as well, who is directing this film, and he may well be able to produce something great, but I don't know. I think the other argument to that as well is that technically Venom doesn't love Eddie as well. Venom is in love with Spider-Man. Venom's first love is always Spider-Man. He will always choose. No, I'm just speaking historically in the books.
Yeah.
Venom will always choose to bond with Spider-Man over Eddie every single time. You know, in the end, obviously that like Eddie rejects the symbiote in the end, and I wonder if they're going to do. Maybe they will. I'll tell you what. There's one thing that we haven't considered as well. There is a consideration to be said that at the end of this film, at the end of Let There Be Carnage, with the supposed links into the MCU, it doesn't have to be Eddie who's actually the symbiote.
You thinking Flash Thompson?
Or Scorpion, who's already been established. Matt Gargan could be easily. I mean, they could bypass Scorpion altogether and just go straight for him as Venom.
Yeah.
They could. There's nothing. There's no when you have Matt, and they are also talking about because we've had this conversation in the past about after Falcon and Winter Soldier. It seems like they're setting up Thunderbolts, and Venom. Matt Gargan Venom is a member of the Thunderbolts, and we've already established that Scorpion is in the universe. He's in prison. He's met Adrian Toomes in prison. He doesn't seem to have the suit or anything yet, but he seems to be quite established as Scorpion in prison. Maybe they're just going to bypass Scorpion because he's too wacky looking and as far as an outfit's concerned, and go straight for him as Venom. And then you've got Venom in the MCU without having any, and he's already got beef with Spider-Man. That could be a way. That could be a way around them doing it. I'm not saying it's a good way. I'm not saying they should necessarily do that, but it's a way around it. Or
interesting.
If they want to set up a more traditional Venom, maybe they have because I don't see the thing for. Sorry, we're getting into this too much, but I apologize. I'm spending too much time on this. But the thing for me that Venom doesn't have any of the Spider-Man powers at the moment. He's got nothing. He doesn't do the webbing. He doesn't do so like. The other thing they could do, because Tom Hardy, I don't see a massive actor like Tom Hardy wanting to be folded into the MCU. I don't see it happening. He's too much of a name. He's done too many superhero movies now. He doesn't want to. I don't think he personally wants to do them anymore. I really don't, unless he wants a paycheck. Because he's been Bane, which he's was huge.
Still living off the royalties of.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's been Mad Max.
Yeah.
I think he does enjoy going from franchise to franchise.
Exactly. That's exactly my point, though. That is exactly my point. I don't think he wants to get tied into an MCU deal. That's what I'm saying to you. I don't think he wants to get tied down for multi-picture deals because he's too much of an actor's actor. He's the Daniel Day-Lewis of our day. But what if again? This is the advantage of it. He's like the Doctor in his regenerations. The symbiote doesn't have to be bonded with Eddie all the time. What if at the end of this movie, Multiverse of Madness, maybe the symbiote ends up bonding with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and then we start No Way Home with Tom Holland in the new suit, and that's how Venom gets introduced into the MCU with his Spider-Man powers.
And then eventually we'll get the big white spider on the Venom chest.
Exactly, because that's what everyone was saying.
That's what everyone's asking.
That's what everyone was saying was missing from that film. That's why it was so bad, was that there was no white spider on his chest. But no, I'm trying to think of ways that they can shoehorn this in to the MCU, but retain its own franchise, because it just feels so shoddy already. This is
feels very. Very 2003.
I was just about to say the same thing, Senpai. This is a film that would have been perfect coming out in 2002, 2003, and it is not built for this time. It is 20 years too late, I'm afraid. So yeah, no, big thumbs down for the trailer for Let There Be Carnage. For me, no, thank you. Let there be Christmas cake.
Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes. Oh, Jaffa cake. Now you're talking.
Okay, so let's get into the meat and taters.
The main course.
The main course. So Jupiter's Legacy was a little TV show that came out on Netflix probably about a week ago now.
It is a story of post golden age of heroics for a string of, let's say, Justice League-esque superheroes, and how they and their families deal with a morality code that is not necessarily fit for purpose for modern day society, and how they struggle with those values and maintaining those values in a world that is fundamentally changing around them.
Yeah, nice. Written by Mark Millar, part of the Millar world. So you may be Millarverse. You may be au fait with his other works such as Kick-Ass, Kick-Ass 2.
Very posh. Kick-Ass. Good
I'm
lord.
getting posh.
Kick-Ass.
Kingsman.
Oh, Kingsman.
I can't remember what the sequel was called. Kingsman.
The Golden Circle.
Oh, the Golden Circle.
The Golden Circle. Careful as you say that second word. The third word. The Golden Circle. Sorry, I can't count.
But here we are with
Did he do
another...
Wanted as well? Did he do Wanted?
Yes, Wanted, yeah.
He did do Wanted, yeah.
But as I say, another one of his works, they were recently, well, all of his works were purchased by Netflix. I believe it was an 8-figure sum, so this is the first of many to come. What was your overall... before we get into it, spoilers.
Yeah, massive spoilers, guys.
Spoilers, Barrett is open. What were your thoughts of the whole season as a whole? Did you enjoy it? I know there's been some real mixed reviews, which we'll probably touch on in a minute, but
we'll talk about it. I loved this series. Like, I absolutely loved it. I started watching, so I picked it up. Like, I had absolutely no knowledge about this whatsoever. Coming into it, like zero. I knew very little about it. I'd kind of heard mutterings. So there's a lady in it called Anna Akana who is Rayu. I can't remember what her name is in the show. Raishu, I think. Raishu. I can't remember. Anyway, so I saw she was advertising it quite heavily on her Instagram channel and stuff like that, and I was like, it looks, okay, it looks all right. And then you messaged me and were like, "Are you going to watch this? Because maybe we'll talk about it on the show." And I was like, I wasn't planning on it, but if we'll talk about it on the show, I might as well give it a try. So I watched the first episode, and like before I knew it, I was finishing episode 4 because I just kept watching and watching and watching, and it was great. It's just like, we talked about Invincible a few. Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. I lost track of the days. Lockdown, damn you, global, global Jaffa. Invincible, I enjoyed Invincible, but it was kind of for me it was personally kind of a little bit of a slog to get through, just because I thought that the ultra violence was what was tying it together. Now this thing has violence in it, but the story was just really well. I personally felt, this is from a personal opinion, I thought that the story was really nicely played out and paced. And like, you did get like a bit, like the first episode I think has a big Justice League-esque fight against like a Darkseid kind of villain. And it was that was done so well, and I was like, man, this is actually really, really good. And then the actors in it, the only one I recognise is Josh Duhamel. I can never say his name. Josh Duhamel from Transformers. I recognised him, but I don't recognise any of the rest of the cast in it. And oh no, that's not true. I know Leslie Bibb. As well. Who's Miss Liberty. And I just thought the whole thing was played really well. The actors seem to really be committed to what they are doing as well, which helps. And they seem to actually genuinely enjoy the source material that they're working with. I thought that the morality choices in it were well done. Like, characters didn't seem to be... I liked that characters didn't seem to be just switching and changing just for the sake of it. With the slight exception of Miss Liberty, she seemed a bit wobbly here and there, but you can kind of understand the reasoning behind it. I don't know if you want me to go into spoilers straight away, or whether you just want me to talk talk around it for a little bit. It was just it was just really good. You know, the Utopian, it is, you know, the good side of it is that the story is extremely interesting. The action, where there is actually, I can understand people's gripes with it being a little bit slow paced for some people. I can understand that. I can see that. But the action when it's happening is amazing. It's really, really good, like on point action. The characters are really, really well played. Like, it's really well, like, you know, done. The only downside to it that I can see is it is quite slow. And the time hopping can be a bit disorientating, because they basically have two separate timelines where you see the origin of these heroes, and then you see the modern day, like what it's like today. So you see the things that created them, and then you see the things that, although we don't really get many answers as to, but that rings true to the comics. So what to say after this, after I watched this first series, I actually went and found the Jupiter's Legacy comic. So
cool.
I read through all of them. Like, I've read through all of them this week. Yeah. There's Jupiter's Legacy, and then there's Jupiter's Circle. I haven't read Jupiter's Circle yet. And I think what they've done, it looks like what they've done is they've adapted bits of both. Because Jupiter's Legacy doesn't actually seem to have that much origin of what created the original six, the Union. The Union is basically what they call themselves. That's basically the Justice League name. So the Utopian is like Superman, effectively. Utopian Superman, Miss Liberty is Wonder Woman, and then so on and so forth. Silver Fox is basically Batman. So... in the comics, it's very different in the comics, I have to say. It is. I can understand some people having some gripes with it, because it does vary quite drastically from the comics. So I don't know how much of this, because I don't know if you've read the comics or not, Senpai.
No, I haven't, but just like yourself, I did sort them out because I really enjoyed this as well. Like you say, for me, because I know it's going to get compared a lot to The Boys, the TV, the Amazon version. For me, this was kind of like, if there was a scale and The Boys was at one end and you had the CW shows like Flash and Arrow, I would probably say this is somewhere slap bang in the middle, because you get the time skips like Arrow, and I'd say it's like you say, there is a pace to the storytelling. It doesn't kind of throw it all at you at once, sort of thing, and fast-paced in, like, say, The Boys, where there is sometimes bits where it slows down to tell you, hey, here's the backstory for Homelander, and then go, and let's get crazy. But with this, there is a sort of nice pace. For me, it was the mystery. I really like the mystery story behind the 1930s.
That's interesting, because I was the opposite. I was much more interested in the morality tale of what it's like trying to keep your code in today's society. That for me was
I really liked it, but I found myself, I was mainly watching it because I was like, I need to know how they got their powers. Right. I kind of had a feeling it would be something cosmic or otherworldly, but I was like,
I mean, it does give it away in the title.
But I was kind of like, I need to know how they get there.
But you know what's interesting is that they don't ever properly tell you how it happens. Really, they don't really tell you what goes, because it's the same in the comics. They find the island. They open the. This is why I need to read Jupiter's Circle, because it might tell you in that. But in Legacy, you know that they find the island. They open the door. They go. They actually meet aliens in the book. So in the series they have this weird contraption that kind of gives them their powers. It seems on the surface, but in the comics they actually meet the aliens, and the aliens give them the power. We don't ever find out how it happens. But. So it's interesting that they made that very ambiguous, like very, very ambiguous. It's not like a, I liked the idea that we weren't focusing on so much on, like, there was that element of mystery. There was that, like, secret treasure hunt kind of thing, which was good. Kind of made it feel weirdly Indiana Jones like, where they're just going to this island trying to, like, go through all these traps. But, like, the how they got their powers was very much like it just happens, and then it's like, what are they going to do with this now they've got them? I kind of really enjoyed that aspect. I think another aspect I really like of the modern day, well, there's two, but I'll touch on this one first, is Hutch's story. It's with the rod. I kind of like this whole sort of, he's not a vigilante, but he's kind of like a anti-hero.
Or a swindler of sorts. Basically he is a cunning fox, you could say, because he's constantly, he has no powers. He hasn't inherited any from his dad. Not that we know anyway, but he's out for himself, using his wits and his rod. And the way he uses his rod, in weird ways, it kind of reminds me of Mjolnir. But I really like. I just thought his character journey was amazing.
I don't know how. I mean, if you're happy for me to talk about the comics as well, I can talk about it. So I think this first series, to me, very, very clearly felt like a prelude to the second series, in the sense of they've established a lot of plot threads and a lot of themes running through it. So in the comic books is quite drastically different, in the sense of, Brandon in the comic books is so in the show, Brandon is the son of the Utopian and Miss Liberty. So the Utopian and Miss Liberty, we should probably explain a little bit for those who haven't watched it. So so basically the show is divided into two sections. So you've got the past, which was set during the Great Depression in America, where the stock market crashed and everyone, like, it was a nightmare. Wall Street basically collapsed in on itself, and so many people lost their jobs, and then the Great Depression was triggered. So in that Great Depression, the Utopian, who is Mark Millar's version of Superman in this, he and his brother were they had a manufacturing factory which basically goes belly up because the father made some dodgy deals and effectively put everyone's pension up as the capital for, like, all the investments and stuff, and then lost everything. And the father then kills himself. So the father then dies and leaves these two sons not knowing, basically feeling like they've been lied to their whole life. Well, one of them feeling like they've been lied to their whole life and not knowing what to do. So the one son, seemingly out of nowhere, gets this vision of this thing that he has to do, this place that he has to go to, and the set of circumstances it has to happen in. And then that's how the past kind of plays out, is his journey to get to that point. And then whilst that is going on, you also have intercut with the present day, where we see that these people who we've seen in the past now have superpowers and are in their twilight years, and how they've had kids. And it's basically about how this generation of their children are reacting to being the children of the most famous heroes in the world. And also how those most famous heroes in the world came up with a code in the Great Depression to save America, and that code does not fit in with America as it exists today. You know, one of the main things was the no killing rule, which a lot of heroes can't understand why, because they're getting slaughtered and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they're losing numbers because the villains don't play by the same code.
Exactly. So yeah, the two kids of the Utopian and Miss Liberty are Brandon, who I think is he called Prodigy in the I can't remember if he's called Prodigy or something. I only saw him referred to as Brandon in the comics. And Chloe is the other kid. Chloe is like off the rails in the show, like completely off the rails party girl. Like she's got she's modeling agency. Like they both got all the powers of the Utopian. Basically, they both have the same powers as him. So they're both invulnerable. Both have super strength. Both can do. I think she can do. She can do light. She can do a sonic. Oh, I lost you for a minute then, sorry. She can do it. That's all right. No, it's fine. It was my computer freezing. She can do a sonic scream, I think. And he can shoot fire from his eyes. So I think that's the difference between the two of them. And yeah, so Brandon is struggling with the code because he ultimately has all this power and wants to enforce sterner justice and help more than he has been able to. And then Chloe just doesn't want to be associated with them at all and doesn't want to be a superhero daughter whatsoever. She almost despises her powers. And that's what the show basically consists of. You've then got the brother of the Utopian, Walt, who is I don't know what his superhero name is, but he's basically got sonic powers.
Brainwave.
It's Brainwave, is it? Is that his name? I
didn't know. Brainwave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he's got his own agenda, it seems. And yeah, it's, you know, there's several plot threads that are weaving through the story, but it's just really well made. Like, it's really well done. And then, yeah, as you talked about, Hutch with is another very important thread. I didn't understand quite why he was so important, like, because they put a lot of emphasis on Fox. Was it Silver Fox? Not Silver Fox.
Sky Fox.
Skyfox, Silver Fox. Yeah, they put a lot of emphasis on Skyfox because he's one of the original Union members who turns into the ultimate supervillain. And you don't really quite, like, in the first, having read the comics now, I kind of understand the importance of him, and I understand the importance of why it all threads together. But in the first series, I guess that's a kind of fault, is that you don't really quite understand why it's so important that we know who Hutch is and what happens with him. I mean, if you want me to go into it, I can talk to you about it.
I just want to say with Skyfox, I thought it was really cool that it's a no show but tell scenario. Like, they constantly talk about the fight with Skyfall, how he betrayed them, the Skyfox. Sorry, you got me saying Skyfall now.
I didn't say Sky. I said Silver Fox. You're saying Skyfall.
I know.
I don't know what's happening.
We're there. We're almost there between the two of us.
Yeah. You say one word and I'll say the other.
But yeah, I like how they talked about it all the time. Like, he betrayed us, like, and everything else. What's really interesting as well is he's played by Matt Ladder. Anyways,
Later.
He does the voice acting for Anakin in all of the Clone Wars animated series. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, really cool guy.
Wait, who are you talking? Wait, the guy who plays. Wait, hang on. Who? The guy who plays Skyfox or the guy who plays Hutch?
Skyfox.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. In the past, George.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Right. I was like, we don't see it. We don't ever see Skyfox like in the modern day, and then I realised it was George. I'm like, yeah, of course we do. Of course we do. He's Anakin, is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's fascinating. I knew I recognised that voice from somewhere. God, that's crazy. That's wild.
He's Anakin in, like, I think even in video games as well. I think he would be better for the role than Christian Hayden. Like
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen.
Christian Hayden.
Christian Hayden. You know, that well-known actor.
Yeah, I know, Christian Haydenson. What you've done there is you've done the WWE route where you've taken his name and you've changed it to copyright it.
Because he's come from the Indies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
From the lava world of Mustafa.
But yeah, he's fantastic. I like the whole psychic battle between him and Brainwave. That was one of my favorite parts.
All right, so as we're in spoilers, that's one of the parts. It was one of my favorite parts, but that's also one of the parts that confused me the most because so as we're talking about the whole series, again, massive spoilers, but if you're that far in, then tough luck. So it's revealed at the end of the series that Walt is actually the mastermind behind a lot of the bad stuff that's going on. So Walt, his brother, has been conspiring to effectively turn Brandon against the Utopian. And so what I don't understand is that when Walt goes into the brain of Dark Star, why is he fighting Skyfox if he's the one who's orchestrated everything?
It's because he anticipated that Grace would want to help. Yeah. I don't know if I buy that. There's another question around the first fight sequence in, like you say, where they fight the clone. When he does that weird flying sequence as well, everyone knows dives in, but he flies in chest first, which is really weird.
Yeah. He's flying in penis first. That's what it is. He's using his strength. That's what he got. That's his magic rod.
Outrageous. But what a lot of people wonder is when he says, I'm trying to get inside his mind. In that fight, it's like, is he?
Yeah, I think I don't. The question arises as whether or not he was trying to get the Utopian killed or make Brandon kill Darkstar. Because ultimately, Darkstar is not in. Darkstar's not in the comics. So sorry to ruin that for you, Senpai, but like he's not in the comics. So he shows up like in the show a lot. Which is what I was going to say. He shows up in the show a lot, and he's kind of this like he's like Darkseid effectively. I mean, there's no other comparison I can make to it. He's like super strong like Darkseid, incredibly strong, and has this like dark matter heart, which is what like he can just do massive like pulse beams from it and just eradicate people very quickly. But yeah, he's not featured in the comics at all. So unless he's in the Jupiter's Circle, which I haven't read yet, he's not in Jupiter's Legacy at all. So it was nice to have that kind of like imposing figure. But yeah, again, I'm not. This is not me having a dig at the show. I'm going to say it again. I loved this show. I thought it was great, and I think that the unanswered questions that we have will be answered in season 2, from what I can glean from the book. And I think that this is a classic example of Netflix bought Millar World. They bought all these properties. They're not going to be a one and done. They are planning long term, and they want there to be, there's a lot of source material they haven't used yet, and I think we're probably going to see a lot of that come into season 2. So again, I don't know how much you wanted me to talk. I don't want to ruin the comics for you, Senpai, but we're here talking about it now, so I'm going to talk about the stuff that is different. So like in Brandon in the books is an absolute Jaffa cake. He's not a pleasant person in the books at all. He's like in the series they seem to have played him with a certain sense of nobility and honor. He does not have that in the books. He is a massive, like, one of the first things he does is takes advantage of fans to go and sleep with them in public toilets and stuff like that. Wow. Yeah, he's not. But
then that's proper Millar work though, isn't it?
It is proper Millar work.
Because this felt very sky high compared to, say, Kick-Ass.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But so he's like, both of the kids are really messed up when you first read the books, basically. So he's a jerk. Chloe is exactly as you see her in the series. Like, she's really messed up. Like she has, as it happens in the show, it also happens in the book. She has an overdose, like, in the first episode, but at the first issue. So like, it's the same. What's different is that she doesn't just randomly meet Hutch. Like, from the get-go, they're together in the books. So they're together before the books even begin, and it's a secret affair. Basically, she doesn't want the Utopian to know that she's dating Sky Fox's son. So the whole comic is about Brandon's struggle with basically knowing that the world should be different and the world should be better, and wanting to change the world, but being constricted and stifled by his father's code.
I see.
They're kind of playing it slightly differently in the show, because it's kind of like he wants to honor the code, but he also has all this power that he doesn't really know what to do with, but he wants to help people. It's a different morality case. In the comics, he knows that he can change the world, but he feels completely stuck behind his father. Walt is still the bad guy. Like, he's still manipulating in the background, and he basically plays up to this with Brandon, and eventually gets Brandon to turn on the Utopian. Right. So again, I don't know how much of this you want me to spoil in the comic books, but I can.
We'll leave it there.
Is it because you want to read it? Is it because you want to read it?
Kind of.
Okay, fine. All right.
But one other thing that I just want to mention is I actually made a TikTok video about this as well. My favorite scene in this whole thing is when Utopian Sheldon,
the Utopian
Sheldon has psychiatry session, but it's with his old, analog version of Lex Luthor,
one of his arch enemies.
In prison. I absolutely love that scene, because it's just kind of like, who else would know him as well as. One thing the show really does do is really, really well, is and it does differently again from the books, is it extrapolates a lot of the psychology of what makes these heroes tick. So it's not just as simple as they go out and they beat people up and they save the day. They fully, like in this series, they fully explore what exactly that means to them, and what struggles they have every single day with what that means and what it can mean. Because ultimately the Utopian, the whole idea behind the Utopian is he's supposed to be he's the symbol of what humanity should be. He is the peak of everything. He is, he's Superman. Everyone looks up. If you read a DC comic, everyone looks up to Superman. Everyone loves Superman. My wife hates Superman, but that's not the point. But everyone thinks that Superman is like the beacon of purity, and that's what the Utopian is. And how do you maintain being the beacon of humanity and also being a good dad? Yeah. And that's the kind of thing where it boils down to, is that you can't be, sometimes it's a case of you can't save people and raise your kids the way you want to. So what do you choose, and what are the ramifications of that in the future? Grow out your hair. I'd like to see Superman with long hair again.
Yeah, man, they should have done it for Justice League. I'm so sad they didn't. I mean, keeping it on this show, I absolutely loved it. Like, you say that Hutch didn't have powers, so this cosmic rod thing that he's talking about, it's basically a teleport. I'm gonna refer to it as what it seems to be, a teleportation stick, which he can basically control and make it go wherever he wants to, including inside people, which he demonstrates to devastating effect. So even though Hutch is a normal human, you see how truly dangerous he can be. It's funny that cosmic. I will tell you this, because it's like, because you see in the show, after the superheroes get their powers, so there's 6 of them. One of them is missing. We don't know what happens to one of them. So. Well, there's Walt, so there's Brainwave, Utopian, Miss Liberty, sorry. There's Skyfox. There's the guy who I can't remember the name of, who's in the wheelchair. I'm sorry, that's a terrible thing to say.
Fitzmore. And then, I think his superhero name's like Flair or something.
That's it, Flair. And then the other one, the other guy, who's the doctor, who was drowning in the ocean and gets brought into the...
He's called Blue Bolt.
Blue Bolt, that's it. You don't know what happens to him.
Yeah, it's, like you say, one of the threads, because I interpreted that the old man
Interpreted.
Sorry.
It's okay.
The old man in the little farm, I thought it was like an old version of him. Because he says the same words as what the doctor says on the boat, where he's like, the storm chased me, no matter what we did, because it constantly flashes back between the two.
Wait, what? No, dude, that was in the past. That was in the past as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, even though it's the younger version of him on the boat, I think they're the same person. It's the younger version is him on the boat, but the guy he met, like, let's say weeks ago, yeah, is an old version of him.
I don't think so. If that was the case, well, fine. If that was the case, though, it would be he would be inside Sam's head, because he shot himself.
Yeah.
So if he's an older version of him, how could he shoot himself if he's got superpowers?
Well, Sheldon says he struggled to fight back that meteor, so he got older.
No, I personally don't think so. The thing I was going to say to you is that the reason why I brought it up was that guy has a cosmic rod when he comes back from Jupiter.
Yeah.
It's.
Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Go on. No, go on. I want you to go. It's
so,
not a brainwave. I can see it.
I heard a theory that, well, not a theory. It might have been in the comics or something, that Hutch is supposed to be a fan of Blue Bolt, and Sky Fox makes him a duplicate of the Rod, but the Rod has all of Blue Bolt's powers.
It doesn't have all of his powers, as far as I'm aware. It doesn't in the comic books. Basically, this is what I was going to say to you: was the magic rod that comes back from Jupiter? Sky Fox makes a new one for Hutch out of a flashlight. So basically, if they're ringing true, if they're going to do the same thing with the TV show, he's basically carrying around a flashlight. Because it's hilarious, because there's this one bit, there's a bit in the comics when they're having this big old fight, and Hutch is right in the middle of it, and his cosmic rod runs out of power, and he has to run into a hardware store and get more batteries whilst the fight's going on. It's amazing. It's really good. Because like that thing is super powerful as well. Like, it's like, you know, I mean, you see it in the show. Like, it can you can do a lot of things with it. It seems to in the comics, it seems to fire a beam of light, which it doesn't do unless we haven't discovered it yet in the TV show. Maybe it'll do it in season 2. But yeah, he can like aim it at people and teleport them, instead of it being like they have to touch it. So,
right.
So yeah, he can literally, because he's again, I'm sorry to tell you too much about the books. This is the last thing I promise I'll tell you, Senpai. But he saves a plane full of people that's about to crash. And he basically goes onto the plane and points at all the seats and just goes, safety, 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 and like ports them all off of the plane.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's also, so I assume they're gonna. I would imagine they'll do something like that in the second. They're definitely setting. The one thing that I got out of the series was that Hutch was such a lovable villain. Like, he's really likable. Like, super likable. Like, as soon as you see him and as soon as you start hearing him, he's got a really dark, sinister side to him as to what he does to some people in the show. But like, he's fundamentally quite a good person who is ultimately, his aims seem to be quite pure.
Yeah.
I can't talk too much about it without spoilers for you, unfortunately, because there's some pretty massively different things between this. Like, so that machine. So there's a machine that Hutch is building in the show. I think I know what that machine is after reading the comics, and it's interesting because they've done it differently to how it is in the comics. Which is why I wanted to talk about it, but obviously if you haven't seen it, then I don't want to spoil it for you, and God, honestly, just take your headphones off.
Well, I was going to say, I think we've covered a lot about season 1. We've unpacked a lot of things. We've spoken about bits and pieces, theories. things you know that may happen.
Let me ask you something then, okay? Because I've read all of Jupiter's Legacy, as we've established.
Yeah.
So I have a really, really good idea of what's coming in season 2. What do you think, as someone who has not read the books, what do you think is coming in season 2? And I won't say anything, I won't ruin it or anything like that. Just tell me what you think is coming in season 2.
Sky Fox is coming. What else do I think is happening? We'll find out what happened to Blue Bolt. I don't think that's going to be something they'll stretch out. What else? We'll obviously see Walt's grand plan play out. I want to know how it affects the sort of generation, the younger generation, because at the moment we've only seen them like struggle with battles, and it kind of feels a little one-sided in that sort of story element. So I'd like to see what happens with them and such. And Hutch, I guess. I think, like you say, the romance between him and Chloe will carry on. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that happens, what goes there. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know if you
it's torturing me that I can't talk to you about this. You do know that, right?
One day we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it maybe off air when I catch up with the books.
Oh sure, off air, when years down the track when you've read them. God, honestly, listeners and viewers, what's he like? It's ridiculous. Come on, senpai.
What's he like? Cool. Should we move on to this next segment?
I'll tell you what we could do. We could do because our next segment is normally the this week I've been mostly. And if you read them, we could revisit it in this week I've been mostly, and then we can have a talk about it. Because I'm probably gonna. I wish we had a nice little theme tune or something for it, but there you go, listeners. If you're out there and you fancy making us some theme tunes, let us know and send them in. What have I been? Sorry, I'm just hijacking the segment. You first. What have you been mostly into this week?
So this week I have been trying to catch up on the latest Batman comics. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a new character called Miracle Molly.
Oh, I haven't seen it, but I've heard mumblings of it. Yes, okay, yeah. Go on. You sound like you're thrilled by it.
Yeah, I mean, I like James. I don't know if it's pronounced Tinian or Tynan the Fourth. It's the current writer.
Yeah.
I really like his work and stuff, and I love Jorge Ramirez. Art style. I love his art style because it's very anime-esque and such. But they have really been pumping out some new characters. Like there's Ghostmaker, there's Punchline, which was like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
But Miracle Molly is just kind of, and I think I really like the story at the moment. What they're doing is they're kind of leaning into the Scarecrow being like the big arching villain behind this.
Okay.
But it also feels like that they were almost edging their bets on Cyberpunk being like a huge success because
right, okay, they were trying to shoehorn in from like okay.
Yeah, because there's this whole sort of like neon town, and everyone has like cyberpunk parts, and Miracle Molly is just like
they're all augmented.
Yeah, okay. And stuff, and everyone's got like puffer jackets with neon like LED lights inside them, sort of thing. It feels like they were kind of piggybacking off the hype, but anyways, it's not much really to say besides like I kind of like this idea. And the other thing that's really weird with this as well is that there was a Future State event not too long ago, which was all about the Magistrate, this new sort of military police who trying to get rid of vigilantes and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're now seeing how they started the building blocks of how
them. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird sort of storytelling because we've already seen them at their height.
It's really hit and miss for me, modern Batman and stuff like that, because there's especially with we made a statement earlier on in the show about Rogues Gallery, Batman having probably the best Rogues Gallery of any hero that there is. It's debatable, but in my personal opinion, I think he does. And there are some times when there's new villains that get introduced that are amazing, and then there's other times when they get introduced and they're kind of like, and you question whether or not Mighty Molly's going to be remembered in terms of Quilt Man.
Yeah, I really feel like they're all kind of learning from Bendis, where he was just constantly just making new stuff, and it feels like sometimes I feel like he was making it so he was like, in the future that will make me some cash. Like when he made Riri Williams, he's like, that's true. That's gonna happen.
I mean, I will. Yeah, there's been some absolute humdingers of villains that have come out in the last 10 years or so with Batman, where it's like they're really good. Like off the top of my head, like Professor Pig is an amazing villain. There's the Doll Maker, who I think he was like 10 years ago. The one who cut off Joker's face, that guy. The Court of Owls, that's only like 10 years old. That's a Scott Snyder creation. That's not that long ago, So there's been some absolutely amazing villains that have come out over the last decade or so with Batman. So it's not just like us looking at it going, oh yeah, the only good Batman villains are really old Batman villains, like Joker and Riddler and stuff. It's like, no, there's some really good Batman villains lately. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, cashing in on Cyberpunk, just do Batman Beyond then. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like, Terry McGinnis is amazing. Do proper Batman Beyond, not this like New 52 Futures End where you weirdly had Dick Grayson being Batman Beyond. That was bizarre. But I'm glad I'm not properly reading Batman at the moment. Basically, I read the Three Jokers and I gave up for a little bit because the story annoyed me so much. I was like, I'm done with Batman for just a little bit. So I haven't read much Batman recently, and I'm kind of, judging from your verdict there, I'm kind of happy I haven't.
If it wasn't the art, I don't think I'd still be reading this. Like I think it's the only thing that keeps me gauged.
Yeah, because Damian Wayne is back alive now, isn't he? After he was killed by Heretic.
So funny enough, I read the first issue of Joshua Williamson's Robin. Which is cool in a weird way.
I saw somebody talking about, oh god, he's not in the League of Assassins. What's he? He's in like some group that's like supposed to be the most deadliest killers or something like that. Is it?
So it's called the League of Lazarus.
League of Lazarus, that was it. That's the one. Yeah, I loved it because I saw someone talking about it on a forum and saying he is the whiniest member of the League of Lazarus ever. Like everyone else is just psychopathic murderers, and he's just this whiny little absolute Jaffa.
Well, the funny thing is, it's like a tournament. So the whole idea is like it's, let's say, Mortal Kombat, where the best fighters get recruited to this tournament.
We haven't talked about that either, just for the record. We should talk about that at some point. We need to see. I'm going to go and see it at the cinema, by the way, next week, hopefully.
Are you? Yeah.
When the cinemas reopen in the UK.
Ooh. But yeah, it's essentially like Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
More common Batman.
But yeah, it's a cool premise. I like to see where it goes because they fight to the death and everything else. So
yeah. I've got nothing against Damian Wayne being Robin. I think it's well, I say that. I think Damian Wayne with the right Batman is like, I personally, I don't know whether I've mentioned this before on this podcast or not, but like Dick Grayson as Batman and Damian Wayne as Robin was the perfect Batman and Robin combo for me. I absolutely like that Grant Morrison run of Batman Reborn. I absolutely adore that run because it was such an amazingly unique dynamic on Batman and Robin, where you've got this like almost not jokey but like more light-hearted Batman, and you've got this absolute P word of a Robin who's just completely straight laced and doesn't different, like he is Batman basically as Robin.
I was just going to say it was a whole role reversal, wasn't it?
It was great, and it worked so well, and it doesn't get enough due, that run. It really doesn't. That's also the run where it's the creation of Professor Pig as well, and it does not get enough credit, that run. But that's cool, man. Yeah, and thank you for steering me away from modern Batman for a bit. I will not be I'll not be reading that anytime soon. I mean, as far as what I've been doing this week, I've been watching and reading Jupiter's Legacy, which I talked about at length. I will be reading Jupiter's Circle this week, just to kind of see what happens with that, because I'm curious to see if it seems like Legacy is about modern day stuff, like the TV show is, and then it seems like the Circle is them in like the golden age of heroics.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, I've said Darkstar isn't in Jupiter's Legacy, I wonder if he shows up in Jupiter's Circle, and that's where they got the character from. I feel like they've merged Circle and Legacy together to make the show. It does feel like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm reading Circle and that psychiatric, that's where he goes to visit a psychiatrist. I wouldn't be surprised if that shows up in Circle instead of in Legacy. But yeah, it was, that's what I'll be doing this week. What are you smiling at me for?
No, just
listening.
Oh, just listening.
I haven't. You guys might be able to see behind me on who's watching on YouTube, but I can't even get my. It's like a mirror. That up there is my Scott Snyder run of Batman, and it was up to number 8, and I've now bought 9 and 10. So I'll be finishing that finally, like years after it's been out, and I kind of know what happened, but it's just nice to have, really. It's just nice to have.
I think number 9 is like the 0 hour. Not 0 hour.
No, that's 4. 4 is 0 hour.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about year 0?
I think so.
Yeah.
Where he's with the O.
Yeah.
He's got like his purple gloves back on.
Yeah. No, that's 0. Yeah. So 8, 9, and 10 is Super Heavy, Bloom, and Epilogue.
Oh, I heard good things about Bloom.
Yeah, I'm excited to read it. I'm really excited to read it. Yeah, it was basically it's like one is Court of Owls, 2 is City of Owls.
Yeah.
And then Death of the Family, of course. That's the one with
the family.
Yeah, man. Oh god, that's another Joker story that I absolutely love. Why can't they do that with the Joker films? Have him cut his face off and be crazy. That's what I want to see.
Because they did it in Gotham. What a waste.
Way to end on a high, senpai.
Jaffa cake. Right, like you say, end on a high. Let's end it on a high. Why don't you listening right now, yes you, check out the links in the description down below.
Wait, did you mean me?
Check out the links down below. You can check us out on our social media. You can check us out on Instagram, where we post all sorts of bits and pieces and share stories. Also, not forgetting to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, as well as right here on YouTube. GG, you've got some bits and pieces to plug, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Thanks for the hype, senpai. I've only literally got the one bit of thing to hype. If you go to if you're ever frequenting Twitch, and I am on there, Gentleman Gamer 30, twitch.tv/Gentleman Gamer 30. I stream every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, doing variety streaming. I'm going to be doing The Evil Within 2 this week. This weekend. Yeah, it was making me wet myself last Friday, so that's my Friday Night Frights for this week. And then I do have a YouTube channel. It's not established yet, so don't worry about going and checking it out just yet. We'll talk about that more at the time. Go to Undisputed Nerds. Go to Undisputed Nerds and subscribe and like us and love us and just enjoy the podcast and what we do. And give Senpai all the credit, because I just come along and talk, and he does all this work because he's an absolute legend.
Terrifying. I can't even say it now.
Oh, you got choked up, didn't you? Because I gave you such
I
a
did,
such a lovely little. Yeah, you're welcome.
Well.
You're welcome, darling. It's okay.
As always, thank you so much for listening. Drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you and know your thoughts. But again, relevant links will be down below, as well as our email address if you want to drop us an email. I think it's nerdsundisputed@gmail.com. But again, links will be in the description down below. And hope to see you on the next one.
Have a good week, everyone. We'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye.
Next week. Have a good one. Bye.